Hi there, welcome to our channel. I'm Vic.
I'm Nick.
And we're Envy Board Gaming. And today we're Unconscious Mind. This is a game for up to 4 players. It is published by Fantasia Games. And it is designed by Yoma, Pax, Laskas, and Johnny Pack. Nick is going to go through how you play, and then we're going to give our review.
Hello everyone, welcome to the table. We're set up for a game of Unconscious Minds. There's a little look at the boards. A lot of stuff to look at. I have a player board off this side as well. So there's going to be a lot to talk about, so I'm just going to hold the camera and point to whatever I'm talking about. In this game, thematically, you are one of Sigmund Freud's contemporaries. You're trying to distinguish yourself in this game. So we all have different players. Here I am, Carl Jung. Key concepts, so let's go over that. We have insights here. You can see that I started with some, and that is based on a tile that I drafted at the beginning of the game. It told me at the right where I start on the map, and also says what I get right there. And then this will say what it becomes when I slot it in one of these spots. Okay. So, right here is what I started with. We have different insights. I'm not going to go over everything thematically, what they are, but there are things like freedom and growth and so forth. But we're just going to be spending these elements to treat patients. We start with one patient that we drafted at the beginning of the game. I'm just going to give you a little overview. I'm not going to go step by step or how to play or anything like that. But essentially, this patient requires these 7 hearts to be healed. And we're going to do that mostly by curing these dreams. So I see I slotted at 7. I got the points that I covered, which was 2 in this case. And I'm going to work to get this patient cured by getting these hearts from these dreams. So I'm going to need these elements that you saw right here to pay. So on your turn, you have one of 3 options. A big part of the game is going to be to state ideas, and that's going to be like a worker placement mechanism out here. And we have those in our supply. I haven't reset my board, but these would be up here. Not locked. These are locked right now, but I do start with 3. Let me just put that correct. There we go. So I start with these 3. So I could, on my turn, I can state 1 or 2 ideas. They would just have to be pointed at the same direction. And then I can just point where I want the action to be done. So in that case, I'm just pointing there. So I'm going to do this action twice. In the future, I cannot go there, even if I only put 1 there, and I just want to do it 1 time. I cannot go there until I recall ideas, which is a different action. So we'll go over some of these actions here on when we state ideas. These are how we get tiles. We're going to spend coffee. We start the game with 4 coffee. We can spend coffee to get a tile. Get a different tile if you want to go to this one. You'll notice that you can activate things right away. You can activate both things on the tile over here. That's why it costs more. These tiles aren't necessarily better than others. It's just that it costs more to activate right away. Then when you get those, you're going to slot them on your board, and I'll go over a little bit what you're doing over here in a sec. So that's the crux of what you're doing on these 3 actions where you're spending coffee to get those tiles. Here you're going to upgrade your insights and move them perhaps. Here's to gain the most basic insights. You can see they have different shapes. So that's the most basic insights. You can see that by the diamond look. Getting some research cards over here. Moving Freud on the board and activating the spot. Moving yourself to Freud and activating the spot. Playing some research cards. Doing treaties over here. Let's go over that really briefly. These 2 concepts, actually these right here. When you get these cards, these little research cards, you can perhaps get some tags, some location tags that have to do with the locations on the board and these districts and locations. And you can perhaps do some treaties over here. So this is drawing a card. When you draw a card, you're going to be able to pick if you want to keep that card or if you want to trade with one that's on display. When you play a card, you're going to actually take one that you have drawn previously and flip it face up and do what it says. It'll also give you these tags at that point when it's flipped face up. And then you could later publish a treatise. So that would be these additions, these cards. You can see they have different colors. So that will give you permanent tags there, and it'll also give you the victory points shown based on how many books you want to slot to these. You'll need one of your These are the little player color insights right there. See, the pink has these, so you get those by finishing out rows and columns. You'll need one of those in your supply in order to even consider doing that action, because you see there's a spot for it in the top left when you look at it. There's a little more to those, but that's the gist of those. So that's going to be one of your choices. You can come out here, do a worker placement action by placing out those insights. Another action you can do is to recall. You can recall all your insights. Every individual spot that you take your insights from will be an additional coffee. So you're going to take all those and put those back in your supply over here. And then you're going to go to the location board and either do an action where you're at or where Freud's at on the board. And those actions can be we just got done playing the game, so I have not completely reset the board, but they can be a location action, which lets you do these, or they can be a district action, which will give you points at the end of the game, and they give you these rewards. In order to do these, the district ones, you will need at least 3 tags in your area, and you will need one of your player color insights. Okay. So that would be resting and recalling your ideas. The last action you can do is going to be something you're going to be striving for the entire game, which is treating your patients. So I start the game with one patient right here. This fella, he has 7 hearts, very difficult starter. Well, I am going to treat, I would need these. I can only treat one patient one time. I start the game with one patient. As soon as they reach catharsis, which is this little star you can see right there in the 3, as soon as this reaches that, I can remove this layer of what's called grief and then get the rewards here. And then I will have their ability not crossed out anymore. So for this game, this one would actually be in a starter. It wouldn't be one of these case study. We have 2 different types. We have ones that give you these basic ones right here that give you ongoing abilities, and these case studies right here that give you end game points. So technically this wouldn't be possible to have as my first one, so let's go ahead and use one that would be possible. Let's say this lady right here, and then this would still be a starter grief layer. There we go. So that makes a little more sense. So once I reach that catharsis by virtue of healing, this layer of grief will be removed, and I will have her ability for the rest of the game. Now, once I cure her, I will then also score those points that are shown right here, along with the ability for the rest of the game. So again, you can only treat one patient at one time, or one patient once, I should say. Once I reach that, then this actually gets removed to start the game, and you can now have both of your offices open. So for the rest of the game, you're going to have 2 patients once this person reaches catharsis. I guess I'll go over that because you're going to do that a lot. Once you treat somebody, so once you spend, and by spending, I just mean spending these resources and putting them back to the middle. So we would need these major ones because the circles right here are major. You can see that on the board. It takes some work to get up to the best spots. Once you spend those, you'll get those 4 hearts tracked right there. This will go away. You'll check to see if there's any tag there. There's not. If there is a matching tag, in this case the cloud, you would get a heart-shaped box, which could be used to further treat the patient. So this would go away, and that would be the end of my turn. I treated a patient by spending resources and perhaps getting points, depending on what has occurred. If I had a second one, I could treat them. Only 1 card, though. I could not do this one. Even if I had the resources to do that, I could not, because I've already treated that patient once. We have some goals over here. So the first to do any of these will give you reputation. Reputation is what triggers game end. I'm going to go sit up over here. You see Freud is at the right. I actually used a different player color. It is a gray one. But this would be Vic and I right here. Freud is always ahead by 1. So you can ignore the player color here. When you get reputation by achieving, let's say I had 3 of the basic clients right here. If I was the first one to do that, Freud would move up once, and I would move up because I was the one that triggered it. So Freud moved up 1, I move up 1. When you pass these, Freud moves, and yes, my token came cracked like that, unfortunately. So we pass 1 with Freud, so he's going to move 1 spot. Boom. It doesn't award you anything yet, but at the end of the game, it will be pretty important to be in the lead of the reputation track. It's pretty nice to have. And it'll also give you extra tags. So if I did get this one, I would have these tags for the rest of the game as well. I'll put that over here. All right, so that is treating the patient. The game's going to end when Freud gets all the way over here by virtue of people getting reputation. Reputation is often earned by these tokens. You can see every color has one of these. Right there on the top, they'll be on the top of the stack each time you set up. So if you're the first one to use one of those on a rest action, let's say, you will get a reputation that way. You'll get a reputation, like I said, by being the first to achieve different things as well. All right, let's see. Is there anything else I want to point out? Let's talk about when you get these, when you very first get one of these folks. So if I want to take this person, and this would replenish immediately, I would then have to take a latent and a manifest dream. So I could take any of these on display, and I have to top deck these. I could top deck if I don't like any of these, right? So I could say that and that, and these will be slotted up top. And you can see by the clouds how they go, so you don't have to remember, oh, this one goes on top. So that goes there, and then my patient goes here, and then I simply slot how many that is. So that's 5, so this would go to 5. All right, and that would be taking one of those. That's really the last thing I wanted to go over. So you're going to keep playing back and forth until Freud reaches the end of that track on reputation, and that is the gist, the very gist of how you play Unconscious Minds. Vic and I are going to take it back up top and tell you what we think.
All right, and we are back. Thank you, Nick, for the great overview of this Table Hog game. I know you had to shift around a bit with the camera. A lot to look at here. And you backed this, was it Kickstarter, GameFound? What did you do?
It was a Kickstarter because of Johnny Pack, because of the art. I sat around and I saw the box that I wanted the game.
Yeah.
And you can see why. Just look at that art. Vincent Dutray foreground, Andrew Bosley background. It's the beautiful box art, the most beautiful art I've ever seen in a board game. That's saying a lot because we have some beautiful games. But this one stands at a different tier, I feel like. We kickstarted this one, went all in at pretty much. There may be something I don't have. I don't recall, but we do have the expansion, which I did not go over. I just went over the base game. We did have, you can see off the side, we actually had the module. We had the pets module, but I didn't have to explain that. Just, an overview of the base game.
Yeah.
Backed it, and you can see the quality. Right when I unboxed it, I was very happy with the quality. We were both just in awe over the art, over the foil and how it looked. These mats look great. Everything about the look of this game is fantastic.
Ink pots.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't mention this during the teach, but a little pro tip that I saw is that if you own this game, make sure you take off the plastic wrap on your grief markers. There is plastic wrap on the front. You might want to take that off. It shuffles a lot better. It feels a lot better. It actually looks quite a bit better once you take that off. I didn't necessarily see that somewhere in the rules. I did see a post online. That's what caused me to peel that off. So a little pro tip before we get into our review. All right, so aside from our first impressions, which were very, very, very positive for both of us, once we got to the table, once you learned how to play, did it feel overwhelming to you at all?
No, I wouldn't say overwhelming, but one thing is you always want to check, did I do all the stuff in the turn? So that's the first thing I think of when you're asking about overwhelming. It's definitely a heavier game because there's a lot going on, but I think that when you taught it to Andrew and Sam, there wasn't a lot of questions throughout. There's great reference sheets, which if you know me, I love a reference sheet. A lot of stuff is covered there where you just need to look and see what does that symbol mean. So there's a lot of iconography. You just hope you didn't miss a boon of some sort. Like, oh, did I get that upgrade or whatever, that, a trait movement or something that you may have uncovered, and you just hope you did the best, most efficient action in your turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a game that you have 3 choices essentially what to do. You can state idea, you can recall idea, or you can treat your patient. So it helps to divide that, okay, here's your 3 options. Now let me explain what all of them do. It does help that there's only 3. It doesn't mean that the game is necessarily, there's not a lot of choices. There's a fair amount of choices because you are mitigating a lot of different things in different ways. Like, for instance, I didn't even go over in my overview of the ink pot. There's just a lot that you can do on your player board. Your ink pot moves, and you can trigger off a row. So there's that as well. I explained the tiles, like you get these tiles during the game, but I explained exactly what they do. Because there's a decent amount to explain. If I were going to sit here and do a rules overview, it would take quite a while. And people have already been assigned to do that, paid to do that by the publisher. So you can go and watch. I think maybe Paul Grogan.
Yeah, there's a tutorial that you can scan a QR code even on.
Yeah, it might be Paul that did that. There's a lot to explain, but I felt like Vic said, it was fairly smooth when I actually did a full teach to Andrew and Sam. And it does help to break out those 3 particular things and a key concept with your boards as well to start out with.
Yeah, I was delighted when you first taught this to me and you said you're going to do one of 3 actions. I'm like, oh, sweet. Because I looked at it and went, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What am I doing here? So that was a good way, I think, to introduce it.
Yep. All right. So we got the look. We got that down. We got the ease of play. It is chunky, but it's 3 actions. Just learn the actions. Okay. This game has worker placement. It has resource management. It has contracts, I would say, because that's your treating clients. That would be contract-like.
Mm-hmm.
You're trading in resources to fulfill contracts. It is treating a patient thematically.
Tech tree? Can we call it that with the tiles that you're placing out on your grid?
Oh, a tech tree?
Because you are building out your own system or your tableau of some sort.
Yeah, something like that.
It's a tableau.
Yeah, you're triggering off your tableau.
Because you can do it how you want. You can put them where you want.
Let's say tableau. How about that?
Okay.
It has a lot of things, just like our previous Fantasia game that we were super excited about, which was Endless Winter. It threw a lot of mechanisms. This one doesn't go to that level, where it just throws everything. Here's area control, here's that, here's deck building, here's worker placement, here's everything. This one does have quite a few things going on. And another thing it has in common, it was my most anticipated game both times was Fantasia. It was Endless Winter was super anticipated for me, and Unconscious Minds was my number 1, and I think Andrew and Sam's number 1 as well, and your number 1 most anticipated game for this year. So we were delighted to get to the table. All right, more
strong marketing team.
Yeah, more review stuff. All right, let's go with positives. Positive thoughts of the game, other than the art, which we've talked about.
Okay, well, I think that it is nice to be able to get things done by mitigating actions. So there are options available to you to get a trait moved up the way you want to move it. Spending coffees, getting coffee, to exchange those things. I think it's hard to get completely stuck where you're like, I can't do anything. That's really not true. And you can go about the game in different ways. You can choose to specialize or work on something in particular. I will say the one thing that can get you stuck, I guess, if I have to backtrack a little bit, is not having your little colored...
Your player color insight?
Yeah. If you don't have one of those and you can't figure out how to get those and you haven't worked towards that, then when you try to do a tree ties or you try to do another a district action, you don't have it. You're like, oh, I wish I could go back in time and have had one. But, overall, I think that just the options alone and feeling like it is not the same game that you're playing each time. While you're treating patients and doing actions that are the 3 actions the same, it doesn't have to be played the same way. What do you think?
I don't know. I kind of think you kind of do. You kind of have to treat your patients the fastest you can. If you don't, you're going to lose. I don't think there's a way around it. You can do your treatise, but that's not going to make up for treating patients. You're going to lose if you just focus on that. I feel like you have to treat patients as fast as you can.
That's why I lost.
I'll tell you what I like the most about the game, aside from look, is the tiles. I like getting these tiles as fast as you can out there so your ink does more. I like that about the game. I like how your ink goes and you trigger off all these things. And if you do things right, if you have a really powerful row, it's like, wow, that one was really nice. I wish I can replicate that every time I play. Sometimes you just have a row that just works out right. It's like, man. And that's a good feeling when you have those rows that trigger off every time your ink. And you can mitigate where your ink goes. There's different ways to do that. You can spend, different things to make sure you end up in the row you want to be in. Yeah. And that includes simply the easiest way to do that, which is picking your action, which was the actions. So the row, I didn't explain it necessarily, the row that you pick from on your when you're doing insight, like the worker placement part, is how much you are going to move your ink. So I'll explain that now. just that in itself is going to mitigate to where you can pick one in that row. There's two choices because if you look at how I explained it, you can point down or point up when you do your actions. So that tells you that row that you're going to do. You can look at the actions in that row and see which ones you want to do, and that will get you to the spot you want to be in as well. So you can kind of double up what you're trying to do. You're trying to do that action, and you're trying to hit that with your ink. So yeah, there's a lot to consider. Even in how you're going to get your resources to the right spot at the right time so you can take the best treatment action, because you would prefer to treat both patients once, not just one patient once. So you'd prefer to have all your resources and your ducks in a row. So there is plenty of forethought in this game. So if that is something you enjoy, that is something to make note of. Anything else positive? I hit the tiles on that.
Yeah, I think that you really just covered what I was trying to say in the choices or the not getting stuck factor, because of the range of ways to go about things. Like, and then you add on the patients that you treat, the abilities that they can give you, and you can make a decision: do I want something toward the end of the game to score me? Do I want to look at the tags, the location tags, try to multiply those for some other future? I mean, there's just a lot of forethought, as you said. I think that's the perfect word for it. Thinking about what's going to be the best for you based on what you have. I will say also the ability to unlock your extra insight tokens is good. It seems to work well that you're able to put more than one down at a time to do that action twice. That's good. It doesn't feel like there is a lot of limitation in the game when you're going about an action. You know what I'm trying to say? When you're able to put more than one down, but that's going to limit when you do the rest action how much you're going to get in coffee.
Yeah.
I like that. When you reminded me of that last game, I loved knowing that and doing that. So
you do one or two actions, one or two of the same actions. You can't point them at different ones, but yeah. Yep. And coffee as a resource is really helpful, and it has a lot of the uses, including getting those tiles that I love so much. Probably my favorite thing about the game. You need the coffee to even get any of those. Even at the least level, you need at least one coffee. And coffee is nice to have as a resource in this game. It's something we're familiar with now, with Sky Team also using coffee. So it's kind of cool that coffee is now being used as a resource, which I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
So that is the components. We talked about the art. The components are fantastic.
Yeah.
We did the deluxe edition, so it's even better. We have the minis. We have those ink things that are super cool looking. Even if you get the retail, those are still cool looking.
Yeah, they look
a little bit better. That's all. The pets, you get the pet minis because you have the pet module, which is easy to explain. Essentially, you just if you're going to use a pet module, you just, in place of your ink, when you're moving your ink, you can move your pet instead. Not necessarily instead. You have to move your ink once at least, but you can move your pet once or twice, and that's going to trigger off abilities whenever you want to use them. Then just go back down the table back to the bottom of that table. So nothing too tricky on that. You can always just throw that in. I think in the base game it's just fine. But that module isn't included in the base. It is actually included in the Nightmare expansion, which we have tried. We can talk a little bit about that. We only played it once. I didn't think it... I really had no desire to play it again. I thought it was just needlessly added things.
I think so. I mean, I was stacking up those Nightmare tokens, and then suddenly the chickens came home to roost, and I went, "Oh, I just lost a bunch of points. Yeah. Dang!"
I thought it was okay.
Why did I do that? So, but it was all right. I like the pets, though.
Yeah, pet module. So we do use that every time we play, including when we taught Andrew and Sam.
Yeah.
All right. So do we have some negatives? Yeah, want to hit any negatives?
I will say that at the crux of the game, with all the things you're doing, I think, Nick, when you said you have to treat patients, that is what you're doing in this game. And whether you think that captures the theme accurately and you really feel like you're treating patients, we're not theme people, so we're not trying to get a game that's going to make us feel like Freudian understudies. Like, that's not what we were trying to feel. We just wanted a nice looking game. I don't want to speak for him, but a nice looking game that has good actions and good thinking towards it. But I will say that, if you are not treating patients, you're not getting the pieces you need to do that, or you're not making the most efficient use of your actions, you can very quickly fall behind And then if you don't have, something that you really need when it's time to make a big move, like your little player insight colored token, you don't have that available to publish a treatise or do a district location, it can be a bit of a bummer, or you don't have the location tags to really make a maximum use of your action. You kind of, I can see how the game would not be as fun if you're not maximizing your action every single time, as much as you can. Because of the fact that you may feel like, okay, I'm just doing this same thing all the time, really.
All right, that it?
What do you think?
I agree.
Okay.
I think the game it does get repetitive at points. You feel like you're doing a lot of the same things. So I won't add on to that. I do agree. The game is too long for what it is. Especially if you want to play with 4 players. The box says, what does the box say?
It says 60 to 120.
Yeah, so that's not true. If you're playing 4 players, it's about 5 hours with each. So that's not even ballpark. Unfortunately, that should go way higher because it says 1 to 4 in the box. You should put the higher end on there. That's not even close, frankly. So it took us about 5 hours for 4 players, and we knew the game. We were just teaching Andrew and Sam, and they play a lot of games. Not like I'm teaching it to somebody that doesn't play games. About 5 hours is right. Without the teach, maybe 4 hours we get down to with 4 people.
Maybe 4.5.
Yeah,
the teach
it takes too long. And we're also, when people are picking the patients and doing all that, we're playing. We're saying, we're just going to pick the patients, and then we skip.
You go, yeah.
So that's even cutting down another hour. If you waited till they picked their patients and both their dreams, maybe 6 hours. But I would recommend not doing that. And just saying, whenever somebody's going to be a patient, next person goes. And then they can think about whatever patients they want to do.
Yeah, and that's directly related to the end game condition. Because it's not like, when you've treated 10 patients, it's over. Or it's really not that way. It's about where your Freud has progressed, right, on that experience track.
Yeah. So if people are getting those reputations fast enough and they're getting the 3 that are givens when they go to location, do the location actions on arrest, on a recall ideas action, that's 3 right there. And if you happen to get the other ones quick enough, maybe make this a little lesser, but you're trying to treat patients, which doesn't contribute necessarily to
experience.
Yeah, it doesn't contribute to the reputation.
Reputation, that's the word.
Yeah, it doesn't do that. So that's a little odd to me that it's not progressing the game in any fashion, necessarily, not directly at least.
Yeah.
Little odd, but it works. It just prolongs the game if you don't focus on getting a reputation as much. Another thing that I think you're going to play the same way every time is, to me at least, you're going to take the regular patients, not going to take the case studies. You're going to wait. You're going to try to take the ones they want to give you ongoing abilities at the beginning. Why would you take the end game ones at the beginning? You would take the basic ones because they give you the abilities. You want 3 of them because that's what the reputation is. Then when you got your 3, now it's all focus on case studies because now that's what gives you the points.
That's why you win.
It just, to me, it doesn't make sense to do it another way. Like I play the same way every time, which isn't exciting. I would rather mix it up. But I get my 3 basic ones. I forget what they call them. And then I get I think they're routine clients maybe. And then I get my case studies and I go try to get the 2, which gives you the reputation if you get the first 2.
Yeah.
I try to. If somebody else want to get the case studies, they might have beat me to it. So that plays a lot the same to me. The treaties I don't really care about, like the research, it feels tacked on. The location board feels a little tacked on. Yes, it's nice once you get plenty of tags and you can start using the location board more, but it's not a big part of the game. What else? I mean,
the districts, like putting it down in that location as a further to that. Like very rarely are you going to go make put your player token out there. I don't know. It seems like it's
toward the end. Yeah. It does help, and you do get points for that in the game. So if you can, it'll be toward the end. We have all those the actual tags for that to do a district instead of a location. All right, but I mean, the game looks so beautiful. And we can't stress that enough. It makes the game. It makes you want to play it. Just seeing those glowing cards. Like, man, this game looks so amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I add one thing as well? If you got a table that's big, how the heck are you going to play this? I mean, you're going to have to get like some TV dinner tray things to start holding things on the side. We have a pretty large table, and we're fortunate that we can spread this thing out. But I don't know. I mean, it's a lot to reach for. He often has to move my score track because there's so many areas to reach, and I don't know. I don't love that. I don't love a table hog game that way. I mean, at least it's pretty, right? So it covers the table in prettiness. But it's a doozy, I would say.
And I've also noticed one thing. This is a minor nitpick, I would say. But when you're trying to match those symbols, your character symbols, like with the grief, and the ones with the dreams, that's like the clouds, the eyes, the wind. A lot of times, all four, we've done this a couple times, have no symbols. So we just top deck. So that takes a lot of the fun out because you can't pick what you want. Everyone's just top decking both dream cards because the symbols just aren't out there. The symbols are blank on everything available. So that the fact that it happened multiple plays, and now everyone is just top decking dreams. It's like, eh.
Yeah, and I really got burned by that the last time we played because I was top decking, trying to get those symbols match up for Catharsis so I could get a heart-shaped box in hopes of doing that. And then I wasn't getting them. I wasn't getting still blank ones. If only there was a mechanism that if they're all blank, you discard them. I don't know. Would be cool. For drafting.
Yeah. Score?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Go ahead. Lead the way.
So my score for this game, based on anticipation, beauty, all the things we've talked about, I'm giving it an 8.2. It's still going to score pretty good for me because it's relaxing of a game to me. It doesn't stress me out. I'm not playing it and feeling like it's a burden on my life to play this game. I enjoy playing it. I just, for the reasons we've outlined, it doesn't get into the nines for me because of the limitations of the time it takes. It's a big investment. I mean, Nick asked me to play it after dinner tonight, and I knew we were going to be in for 2 or 3 hours of playing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Cool. All right, well, we played this game 3 times at 2 players and 1 time at 4.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a decent feel for it, and one of them was with the expansion, the Nightmare expansion. After all 4 plays, I've settled on a 6-4 for this one. I think the game it's okay. The actions can be rewarding at times. The game drags way too long. It's a big disappointment for me. This game I was hoping to be in the 9s because of the look and the designer, Johnny Pack, who I have a great deal of respect for, a great designer. It just didn't click for me, this one. I love his game, Coloma. I can't wait to get the deluxe the second edition that I backed. I cannot wait. I don't know when that's coming, but I can't wait because I know I love that game. I played it. This one didn't hit the mark. It did feel repetitive, unfortunately. The whole game, I feel like I'm just messing with the resources, moving this up, moving this. Now I got the thing, and it kind of, yes, there was a lot of choices, but at the same time, somehow this is contradictory. It kind of plays itself because it's so, for me. How would I put this? This game, I didn't feel like it took a ton of thought. It kind of played itself like, yeah, of course I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. Of course I'm going to do that. But there are choices. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that in my mind, it felt like I wasn't doing a lot of thinking. I just need to get that, and what's the quickest way? That's how I'm going to do that. It kind of like, it had a routine in my head. There were choices, but it didn't feel like it's in my brain because it wasn't stressed in any fashion. I knew what resources I need. I knew how to get them, and that's that. You're just fulfilling orders. The theme is great. It's fantastic. If I were a theme person, I would give it probably a whole other point because I think the theme is awesome. But there's a disconnect even there. I mean, I treat a patient and I get 2 coffees. What is that? Did I get tipped 2 coffees? I'm not even sure what that is. That's fine. It doesn't bother me because I'm not a theme guy. It's like, give me 2 coffees. I don't care. I really don't care. I need
those.
Yeah, I need that. Cool. Thanks. But if I put my theme shoes on, it didn't even make sense to me there. A great theme. It doesn't matter, though, for us, unfortunately. And it couldn't rescue the game by any means for me. But 8-2, Vic liked it quite a bit. I am thinking it's a solid, okay-ish game, but just not for me, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to hear that from Nick as well, I have to say, because I know how excited he was, and this is another, sort of reminder of a game that is maybe a little overproduced in some ways. Obviously, I scored it generously, I think, given what it was, just because of the hype we felt, and reasons I've already stated. So
You might be in the majority.
Yeah. Maybe. Let us know in the comments below what you've heard about this game, if you've played it, or if you have a similar experience where something really looked great, but then when you got it to the table, it didn't click, or it just didn't work out, or, anything like that. Let us know in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more great reviews. We'll see you next time.
Adios.
Bye.